A reflection for the Mass of the day, the Nativity of our Blessed Lord. From today's Gospel. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, he gave them power to be made the sons of God. To them that believe in his name, who are born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And we saw his glory, the glory, as it were, of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. I want us to imagine that we have our Google map in front of us on a large screen. And we found, probably in the right bottom hand corner, the little yellow man. First of all, however, we put in to the search box Bethlehem. Not Bethlehem in America, of course, or anywhere else for that matter, but Bethlehem in the Holy Land. And then, when the map has zoomed in to Bethlehem, we click on the little yellow man. We'll see lines. And those lines on the roads mean that we can have a street side view. And so, well, we've got the center of Bethlehem, but where is the stable? It's not in the center, clearly. It's going to be where there's meadow and open ground for the animals. So we tap in stable. Now, of course, we'll probably come upon some modern buildings. So let's just look at the choice of photographs that Google gives us. I don't know about where you live. Where I live, we can go back as far as 2008 and see the street scene then. It's very different from the one where I live now. But imagine that we can press that button and go all the way back to the S, Anno Domini, ground zero, as we might say. And so we do. And Bethlehem is much smaller, but there's the stable. And so we click on the blue line, and instead of finding a nicely tarmacked road, we find an earth track. And as we swivel round, we can see, yes, there's the stable, and we can click to get closer. And it's a stable much as any other stable that we've seen paintings, maybe the one we've knelt before in church, or maybe the one where we've watched the nativity play, or maybe many nativity plays in schools and other places on stage. We can't go any further with Google, I'm afraid, because they're not allowed to show inside, of course, any more than they can show inside our houses. So we're going to have to go through the screen, as it were, into the stable. And there they are. There's a stillness, of course. The stillness really radiates from the mother. There she is, facing us. Behind, yes, and that is the crib. She's motionless, gazing down at the manger, no doubt because the baby is asleep. At her shoulder is St. Joseph, leaning on his staff with that look of protection, really, for the Holy Family. We can only just see the baby and the bundle of hay and the lattice work of wood forming the crib. Only yesterday, the animals were leaning over that lattice work of wood to eat. What else? Well, of course, in the background there's the ox and the ass. There's a window to one side, no glass, of course. The ass is looking away, looking out into the meadow outside. Not interested in what's going on inside. In fact, he's tossed his mane, much more interested in the flora and the fauna there, beyond the stable. But the ox shuffles up close in person. The ox wants to know who is in the manger. Traditionally, of course, the donkey or the ass is considered to be a rebellious and ignorant animal. And he's fulfilling that stereotype here now. The ox, by contrast, is docile, quiet, ceremonially clean. And there, we might say, we have the two responses to the birth of Jesus. That gives us pause for thought, doesn't it? As I was saying, we've probably seen the stable on stage, the children's enactment of the nativity play. Someone yesterday sent me a video taken on a mobile phone, probably at a primary school or something like that, I would guess. And it starts off very peacefully. The baby Jesus is quietly in his crib. Thankfully, not a real baby, it's a doll in view of what happens next. Mary and Joseph are behind the crib, a solid crib. They've both got well-fashioned halos with tinsel, white tinsel to make an impression, and it's wired behind in each case. There's a taller child on stage, right? And when the video starts, there's another small one just reaching into the crib. And she plucks out the baby and then turns to the audience and triumphantly starts rocking it from side to side in exaggerated gestures, which threaten to result in the doll flying through the air into the wings of the stage. By the way, isn't it interesting? It's always the little girls who want to play with the dolls. The boys are probably off playing with the cards, but I wouldn't want to make too much of that in our society, would I? Anyhow, in this drama, the larger actress starts making grabs for the baby. She's realized that perhaps the plot has gone wrong. The script has been left behind. The young child, however, is too quick for her. Snatches away, moves away from the older child. And being bigger, this one resorts in putting the smaller child, into a headlock. And they are plunged towards the crib. And then the video becomes blurred, no doubt, because the one holding it has fallen into paroxysms of laughter. And we see one of the mothers advancing hastily up the steps to deal with what's going on. Such competition to hold the baby Jesus. None of that in reality, of course. Back in our Google map, back in the crib, in the stable, everything is ordered, and all the visitors are suitably respectful and dignified before the creator of the universe, whatever their social position. Meanwhile, the ox is ever more close up and personal. Perhaps you've noticed that Jesus is cold. It's a drafty stable, after all. All right for oxen, but not for delicate babies, human babies. Perhaps that's why he breathes warmly over the baby. The creator of the ox is warned by one of his creations. Doesn't the ox know it? The one who put breath into the nostrils of the ox in the first place. The ox now breathing, and the one who gave him breath is inhaling the clean, wholesome air from those same nostrils. I don't need to tell you that Bethlehem is house of bread, Bethlehem, or that Jesus is lying in the manger. It sounds better in Italian, doesn't it? Mangiatore. We can hear the link with eating, mangiare. He who is the bread of life, he who is the bread of the altar. I wonder if you have made a connection with the Ukraine in all of this, one of the many war-torn places of earth where there is no peace. Archbishop Wilson made that connection. He told us in his recent homily about the devastating famine in the Ukraine in the 1930s. The Holodomor killed millions of people. Out of charity, Archbishop Wilson doesn't remind us that Stalin engineered this as part of his plan for collective farms and the subjugation of that country. Since then, however, bread, a staple food of life, has been treated with special significance there. So precious did food become after that terrible time of starvation, that a tradition arose where if a piece of bread fell to the ground, it was kissed as it was picked up. I'm told, he tells us, that this is still a custom today, to kiss and honor bread that has fallen to the ground. In the past year, of course, we have seen their grain harvest disrupted and damaged by Russian aggression. And I wouldn't be surprised if the tradition of honoring bread like this has gained a certain boost. But it also has deep resonance for our faith at Christmas. We too spiritually kiss bread we kiss and honor the Lord Jesus, the bread of life, born from heaven, God taking flesh among us in that divine condescension. God, yes, descends to the very earth. And there he is in the stable. There's another war-torn place we must mention at this time too. Bethlehem itself. If we come back through the 2,000 years, we will find, well, it's relatively silent, but I wouldn't call it peaceful. No, it's silent because, well, the pilgrims aren't there. We Christians, of course, have been driven out of Bethlehem before. That was the motivation for the Crusades, wasn't it? To win back from Islam our holy places. We're just a bit player there now, but it is just as tragic and just as soaked in blood. Jesus has fallen to earth as he did 2,000 years ago. He came to save us, and we can react like the stubborn ass, turn away, blind ourselves to the glorious love of God, that attractive sight before us, the babe, now in the arms of his mother. We can think we own him. We're going to keep him to ourselves. Or we can recognize him as our Creator God. And recognize too the great privilege that we can, yes, watch over him. We can keep him warm in our frigid society, pondering the divine condescension, just as Mary, motionless still, ponders what has happened in her own heart. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt amongst us. Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever.